but the godless are like thorns to be thrown away, for they tear the hand that touches them. One must use iron tools to chop them down. They will be totally consumed by fire. Coyote says, you must be firm. Right, yeah, they'll do what they can to try to hurt you or manipulate you or whatever they can to take advantage of a situation or even a person. You have to be careful not to get hurt by them, and as part of doing so, you have to be firm in your, like, either restrictions of them or, like, your boundaries that you set in relation to them. What's up, cool people? My name's Matt. Welcome back to our Bible study. Okay, so we're looking at 2 Samuel chapter 23. David had a whole bunch of crazy stuff happen throughout his life, and even specifically throughout his reign as king. And it seems like we just, in the past couple of chapters, got to where things finally settled down a bit, and, you know, he was actually able to get some other things done, like, you know, finding out and solving the cause of a famine in the land, getting rid of some enemies from around Israel instead of, you know, people opposing him within Israel. And the last chapter, I think, was, you know, a song of praise to God that he made about just helping him through all these crazy circumstances. And then we get to this chapter, and as with previous chapters or sections where it mentioned it being someone's last words, this is probably also more so like parting words of wisdom, not like literally the last words they ever said. That's kind of more the way that I take it. I don't think there's a whole lot of other context that needs to be considered for this. I will just go ahead and get rolling. 2 Samuel chapter 23. Here we go. These are the last words of David. David, the son of Jesse, speaks. David, the man who was raised up so high. David, the man anointed by the God of Jacob. David, the sweet psalmist of Israel. The Spirit of the Lord speaks through me. His words are upon my tongue. The God of Israel spoke. The Rock of Israel said to me, the one who rules righteously, who rules in the fear of God, is like the light of morning at sunrise, like a morning without clouds, like the gleaming of the sun on new grass after rain. Alright, pausing for a sec. Again, it says last words. I mean, it could literally be his last words, but there are other chapters coming up that will talk more about David. So, again, I think it's more appropriate to just consider these as like parting words of wisdom or instruction, guidance, or even just parting thoughts, you might say. So, anyway, he's, you know, talking a little bit about himself, who he is, as the introduction, just to make it clear that, like, hey, this is the David we're talking about. The guy who, you know, was anointed by God, as opposed to some other David. Because, you know, there were multiple people with the same name, as happens in life. And so, you know, generally the people with the same name were delineated by either, okay, this one who was remembered for such and such thing, or like, you know, the son of so-and-so and so-and-so, and... So anyway, I think this opening paragraph is kind of a shout out to God, like the previous chapter's Song of Praise was, but also saying like, hey, just so we're clear, on who's writing this or saying this. A little note there. Or the favorite subject of the songs of Israel, or favorite of the strong one of Israel. Now, the first or in the note there kind of has a similar meaning to how it reads right here. Just talking about how, like, you know, he is the author and or the subject of a lot of the Psalms, which we'll eventually get to. And if it were to read more like favorite of the strong one of Israel, that's just then pointing back more so to the previous statement about how he was anointed by God and how God clearly showed some favor on him throughout his life, as mentioned in the previous chapter, and the many things that David praised God for. And then he goes on to say that, you know, like, basically what he did throughout his life, the things that he said, you know, he sought after God in most of that, at least. That was the kind of king that he strove to be. And so, kind of also maybe suggesting that what he's saying right now is wisdom that he has gained from God and from all the times that God spoke to him and helped him and all that kind of stuff. So, still, like, all this stuff is kind of introductory. Kind of stating who he is, his credentials, and where he's even getting any of this from. But then he goes on in verse 5. He says, "Is it not my family God has chosen? Yes, he has made an everlasting covenant with me. His agreement is arranged and guaranteed in every detail. He will ensure my safety and success. But the godless are like thorns to be thrown away, for they tear the hand that touches them. One must use iron tools to chop them down. They will be totally consumed by fire." So, kind of, in a way similar to the previous paragraph, except like the flip side of it, where he's saying, hey, God made a covenant with my family, and it mentions that covenant back in, I want to say, chapter like 12 or so, like right after he's like scolded for his actions with Bathsheba and Uriah. God also still makes a covenant with David saying, hey, you are not going to die right now. In fact, I'm going to promise you, God says, I'm going to promise you that your family line will extend and continue to rule over Israel. So kind of going back to him and his relationship with God, but then also pointing out the flip side of that, where it's like, okay, but people who pay no mind to God, don't listen to his words, and, you know, just don't live the way that he wants us to, those people, I mean, he describes them as like thorns to be thrown away. So, like, they hurt other people, but because they hurt other people, they have to be handled with some care and, like, you know, in order to avoid getting hurt by such a person while also, like, keeping them out of your life or even removing them from your life. Kind of like you generally want to handle thorns with some gloves on, and you got to use some decently strong tools to actually get rid of them. So that's, I guess I expected more of the chapter to be some of his parting words of wisdom, but then we'll carry on to the next section here. Coyote says, you must be firm. Right, yeah. Firm in dealing with the godless. Those who might seek only for their own benefit, and, like, they'll do what they can to try to hurt you or manipulate you or whatever they can to take advantage of a situation or even a person. So, yeah. You have to be careful not to get hurt by them, and as part of doing so, you have to be firm in your, like, either restrictions of them or, like, your boundaries that you set in relation to them. But now we will move along to the next section, starting in verse 8. These are the names of David's mightiest warriors. The first was Jashobeam, the Hakmonite, who was leader of the three mightiest warriors among David's men. He once used his spear to kill 800 enemy warriors in a single battle. Next in rank among the three was Eleazar, son of Dodai, the descendant of Ahoah. Once Eleazar and David stood together against the Philistines when the entire Israelite army had fled. He killed Philistines until his hand was too tired to lift his sword, and the Lord gave him a great victory that day. The rest of the army did not return until it was time to collect the plunder. Next in rank was Shema, son of Agi? I don't know, from Harar. One time the Philistines gathered at Lehi and attacked the Israelites in a field full of lentils. The Israelite army fled, but Shema held his ground in the middle of the field and beat back the Philistines. So the Lord brought about a great victory. Okay, I'll pause there for a sec. So, I guess as we're kind of, like, coming to the end of David's life, it's also kind of chronicling some details of other significant warriors, at least in this case, and some great deeds that were done throughout David's reign as king. And things that might have happened that kind of got credited to David in a way, but were also due to these mighty warriors. Some notes here. As in parallel text, 1 Chronicles 11:11, Hebrew reads, Josheb Bashebeth, the Takamonite. Okay. But I guess the translators used a cross-reference in 1 Chronicles to get this name here, but once again, we have one of those weird situations with Hebrew being a very different language, especially ancient Hebrew. So, like, there are multiple possible ways that, like, the same collection of characters might have been pronounced. Just like what we tend to think of as Joshua might have sometimes been pronounced Yeshua, which is also, like, kind of a more accurate Hebrew pronunciation of the name we tend to refer to as Jesus. But anyway, same guy, just translation note there, I guess. Note that the leader of the three, as in Greek and Latin versions, The meaning of the Hebrew is uncertain. Okay. Another translation note. 800 enemy warriors in a single battle. Note says, as in some Greek manuscripts. Again, all three of these notes have been connected back to, or connected forward to, I don't know, connected with 1 Chronicles 11:11. Meaning of the Hebrew is uncertain, though it might be rendered the three. Okay, so for this whole section here, I guess, is all the way down to that is what the note might be talking about. I don't know. It was Adino the Esnite who killed 800 men at one time. Okay. So this is saying it might have been a different person who killed the 800 men, but like, still, we're just... I don't think the names are of that much significance to us nowadays, to be honest. Just noting that there are other men who performed very great deeds of strength and battle victories and things like that. Note there, Shema, the Hebrew just says he rather than okay, but that Shema is the last guy that it referenced here, so the he would imply Shema anyway. Just a clarification, I guess, based on the grammar. Alright, moving along to verse 13. Once during the harvest, when David was at the cave of Adullam, the Philistine army was camped in the valley of Rephaim. The three, who were among the 30, an elite group of David's fighting men, went down to meet him there. David was staying in the stronghold at the time, and a Philistine detachment had occupied the town of Bethlehem. David remarked longingly to his men, "Oh, how I would love some of that good water from the well by the gate in Bethlehem." So the three broke through the Philistine lines, drew some water from the well by the gate in Bethlehem, and brought it back to David. But he refused to drink it. Instead, he poured it out as an offering to the Lord. "The Lord forbid that I should drink this," he exclaimed. "This water is as precious as the blood of these men who risked their lives to bring it to me." So David did not drink it. These are examples of the exploits of the three. And again, just the connection of David being a leader and or king, and the fact that these men did these things during that time. Now, it might seem like a waste for David to pour out this water that the men worked so hard to get, but it sounds almost like he felt a little bit guilty that they actually went and, you know, got that for him, because he's like, all right, look, it also might be a sign in the future of like, hey, just because I say I want something, that doesn't mean I want you guys to risk your lives for this. Especially something as simple as water from a specific well. So that, to me, is the reason why he dumped it out then. Because it was a sign of him valuing their lives more than, you know, a simple pleasure of some good water or anything like that. Note there, when it says the water is as precious as the blood of these men, Hebrew says, "Shall I drink the blood of these men?" See, that hammers it home a little bit more. Because it's like saying, you guys risked your lives for me. Is this really even worth drinking? I might as well be drinking the blood of the men who risked their lives to get this for me if I drink this now. I don't care about it that much. I'll pour it out instead, just to make it clear that this kind of, these kind of acts are not worth it. Okay, and now we get to, rather than just the three, mightiest of the mighty, now we get to a slightly larger subsection of David's mighty men, starting in verse 18 here. Abishai, son of Zeruiah, the brother of Joab, was the leader of the 30. He once used his spear to kill 300 enemy warriors in a single battle. It was by such feats that he became as famous as the 3. Abishai was the most famous of the 30, and was their commander, though he was not one of the 3. There was also Benaiah, son of Jehoiada, a valiant warrior from Kabzeel. He did many heroic deeds, which included killing 2 champions of Moab. Another time, on a snowy day, he chased a lion down into a pit and killed it. Once, armed only with a club, he killed an imposing Egyptian warrior who was armed with a spear. Benaiah wrenched the spear from the Egyptian's hand and killed him with it. Deeds like these made Benaiah as famous as the 3 mightiest warriors. He was more honored than the other members of the 30, though he was not one of the 3. Sorry. And David made him captain of his bodyguard. So, yeah, similar kinds of deeds. But also Abishai, I mean, it says he was leader of the 30. I'm pretty sure there were times when he also led more troops than just that. Note there says, as in Hebrew manuscripts and Syriac version, other Hebrew manuscripts read the 3, but maybe he wound up commanding the 3 mightiest if they were in the broader section of the army that he was commanding, which, considering it was basically him and Joab most of the time, that, isn't surprising that would have happened from time to time. Oh yeah, also, as Quixote has noted earlier, yeah, a lot of this also shows the devotion of these men to David and, defending him, helping him, fighting for him. So, another reason for this stuff to be noted where it is, right after David's parting words of wisdom. Abishai was the most famous of the 30. Again, Hebrew might read the 3. Even though it says he was not one of the 3, so, it's... It makes me wonder if 3 and 30 might have read very similarly in ancient Hebrew. But, wherever he was there, I don't think is of much consequence, especially given that he was, a commander anyway. So, note about Benaiah, or son of Jehoiada, son of Ishai. Okay, well that would just go back another generation in the family, but it might have said that instead of a valiant warrior. And then that, if it said from Kabzeel there, it might have been saying that Ishai was from Kabzeel. Note there are 2 champions. Hebrew says 2 of Ariel, which might have been a Moabite territory anyway. I just, like... Still, killed a couple of probably significant, well-known warriors. So, like, there were even well-known good warriors in other armies that were being defeated by these men of David. So it's not just like everybody that they fought were a bunch of chumps by comparison. Okay. Then we get on to verse 24. Other members of the 30 included Asahel, Joab's brother, Elhanan, son of Dodo from Bethlehem, Shammah from Herod, Elika from Herod, Helez from Pelon, Ira, son of Ikesh from Tekoa, Abiezer from Anathoth, Sibbecai from Husha, Zalmon from Ahoa, Maharai from Netophah, I almost read that as Naphtali, Heled, son of Bana from Netophah, Ethai, son of Ribai from Gibeah, in the land of Benjamin, Benaiah from Pirathon, Hurai from Nahale Gaash, Abi Albon from Araba, Asmaveth from Bahurim, Eliaba from Shalbon, sons of Jashen, Jonathan, son of Shagi from Harar, Ahiam, son of Shirar from Harar, Eliphalet, son of Ahazbai from Maacah, Eliam, son of Ahithophel from Gilo, Hezro from Carmel, Perai from Arba, Igal, son of Nathan from Zobah, Benai from Gad, Zelek from Ammon, Naharai from Beeroth, the armor-bearer of Joab, son of Zeruiah, Ira from Jatir, Gareb from Jatir, and Uriah the Hittite. These were all... There were 37 in all. Sorry. Kind of misread that a little bit. Literally just breaking down the other names of mighty warriors. So it appears the 30 might not have been just 30. Because the final number down here mentions 37 in all. I mean, that would be plus the 3 from before. So that would put it at 33. Maybe if... Nah, but it says these guys were part of the 30. I don't know, whatever. It could have been one of those things where it's like... I was about to say something related to like college football divisions, but I don't know if that's necessarily the case anymore. It was, at least for a brief time, where like the Pac-10 or the Big Ten or one of those college divisions like wasn't actually, like, it didn't have quite the number of teams that it said it did, because some had just recently joined and they hadn't gone through the process of officially changing the name of the division or conference or whatever it was. I don't know. But of course, these men might not all have been part of the group at the same time either, because we know Uriah died partway through David's rule as king. We also know that Asahel wound up dying fighting against Saul, actually. So, or at least Saul's army. So, some of these men might have also died partway through, so maybe there wasn't any more than 30 at a given point. I don't know. But anyway, notes are probably just going to relate to the names and the translation, or some notes about the translation thereof. So this cross-references 1 Chronicles 11:27. Hebrew reads from Palti instead of Pilon. Noted Sibbecai there. Mentions Hebrew reads Mebonai, but the Greek reads this way. Also referenced in 1 Chronicles 11:29. Noted Heled says, as in some Hebrew manuscripts, most Hebrew manuscripts read Heleb with a B rather than Heled with a D. Ithai, as in parallel text, 1 Chronicles 11:31. Hebrew reads Ittai rather than Ithai. So, yeah, just like a lot of these are just real minor differences, which could easily happen given the way that ancient Hebrew was. Hurai is read as in some Greek manuscripts. Hebrew reads Hiddai. And where he's from could be read as, or from the ravines of Gaash, rather than Nahale Gaash. Shagi, or the son of Shagi part. Hebrew reads Jonathan Shammah. Some Greek manuscripts read Jonathan, son of Shammah. Okay. Yeah. Again, more minor name change notes or name translation notes. But anyway, so yeah. We get David's words of wisdom and then a whole bunch of stuff that his mightiest warriors did and who all was part of those elite groups. But that's all we got for 2 Samuel 23. Okay, so that was 2 Samuel 23. We got some, like, parting words of wisdom from David, and then also heard of some of the exploits of the strong men / skilled warriors that were under his command. And yeah, it's really about all there was to it. Next chapter is the last one for 2 Samuel. Then we'll be moving on to 1 Kings. I haven't looked into how many chapters that is, but no big deal. There's still quite a ways to go, at least for the entirety of the Bible. There might be some sections of the Psalms where I might combine some things, but there's also a psalm or two I might have to split up into multiple parts. So, I don't know. That's where things might start getting a little haywire. But, anyway. Yeah. As always, like and share if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe to the channel to keep up with my latest videos whenever I post them. Make sure you look down in the description for links to social media pages so you can find and follow those. Feel free to join the Discord server if you want to chat in between videos. And then I've also got a link to the coffee page for supporters and whatnot. Whether you give just once or sign up for a membership with some extra kickbacks or whatever. That's the place to go. If you want to, help me out a little bit on the money side of things. No obligation, though. And, of course, leave comments down below all that with any thoughts you have. Or questions or anything like that. So, that's going to do it for now. Hope you're all doing well. Hopefully I'll see you soon for another video. But whatever the case is, till next time, stay cool, people.